back. Um, my parents, they're on vacation, and so I got the big mentorship speech that a lot of you guys don't know me because it's been like 3 years since I've been here, and so he wanted to remind me a lot of you don't know me, so if I could please just keep that in mind. And he's like, what's your sermon title? I was like, well, Dad, it's glory to your name and to the nations. He said that's good. And so don't tell him it's called Pit Happens, because that's just me. And I do love about, is that a teleprompter? We've got a teleprompter here now. Do they teleprompt their sermons now? No way. No, they do. Only Jason, Pastor Jason does. Okay, so this is, I'm not used to, I've been only preaching one service, so this back-to-back service stuff it's a little bit crazy, so I'll try to stay on topic and point, but I did have something to say first. Oh, the reason I love the Vineyard is because, I grew up, if you didn't know, and my dad was a Baptist preacher back in the day. That was a lot of fun. And so we grew up Baptist kids, we weren't allowed to listen to anything that didn't say, talk about Jesus, or, we weren't allowed to wear clothes that were, anything like above our ankles, and it was really bad, and so it leaked into other categories, which when Jason said that you're watching the Smurfs in this church building, I got to give you a little background because you don't know, and I have to tell on my parents when I'm here and they're not, so I got to tell all the fun stories. But they literally banned us as children from watching the Smurfs. I kid you not. They called them, it was a big wave through the Baptist movement. They were called little blue demons, in that they would crawl out of the TV into our brains and make us believe that, God wasn't real. So we literally banned. We had Smurf dolls that they threw away. They just ridded everything of Smurfs, and they really fully believed that they were demons. So the fact that they're playing the Smurf movie to all these little kids in this building is mind-boggling. It is just mind-boggling. But it goes to show you, we come a long way. We grew up as preacher's kids. There's 3 of us. I'm the middle. They call me the peacemaker. So just kidding. Gosh, you don't know me. Wow. That shows you 2 people in here know me. But they, we grew up with a lot of religious people, religion without grace can really kick the poop out of you. And so growing up in that environment was really difficult because there wasn't a lot of grace. And so, of course, as kids, and then getting into our teenage years, more than ever is when they need grace. It just wasn't there. So when I saw my parents make the switch into the Vineyard movement, I started paying attention from a distance because I left God for a lot of years, and I just thought I could do it better. I typically still think that way. I salt it with Jesus every once in a while. But I saw the Vineyard movement, and I absolutely loved it. And so I love that we believe in a pit theology in the Vineyard. And I'm going to explain that this morning. And believe it or not, you have pity pastors. Come on, tweet that. Let's go. That's a tweet right there. We have pity pastors in the Vineyard. And I love it. I wouldn't be a part of any other movement because this is where I returned back as a prodigal kid and I found grace. I was welcomed instead of judged. I was hugged instead of kicked out. And it was a place that, that still to this day when I walk in here, you can just feel like this is a place of grace. It's a place of love. But it's also a place where you are going to find yourself, if you're journeying in life any amount of time, you're past infant stage, especially, who's been married? Raise your hand. Been married. Okay. So you know what pits are, all right? That's just you've been married, you raised a teenager, you know what pits are. So we're going to look at a story in the Bible. I love this guy. I love this guy because it's one of those stories that he doesn't really necessarily deserve to be put in this pit. And so I'm going to talk about a couple different ways we end up in a pit. And but here's the truth: is you're going to be in one throughout your life. It's not just like one and done. It's I'm going to be headed into a pit, I'm in a pit, or I'm coming out of a pit. And that's just the cycle that we are in. And so there's a couple ways that you can get put into a pit, and we'll go over that. But I want to jump into the story here. Most of you guys are familiar, if you've been around church, grew up in church, the story of Joseph, the coat of many colors, the favorite brother. You know, his dad, Jacob, he literally comes straight out and like recognizes him as the favorite. Right in front of all the other brothers. He's like, yeah, this is my favorite son. I'm going to spoil him. And he's amazing and he's awesome. And that's not a lot of wisdom. So if that's your parenting trade, you could do it the way my parents did it. They privately, secretly told each one of us we were their favorite. And so growing up, I really believed I was the favorite. It did so much for my confidence, I can't even explain it. It was amazing, but as we got older, we'd get together and someone, spilled the beans, one of our sisters, and she's like, yeah, well, I know it's been rough on you guys because I know I've been the favorite. And we're like, no, I've been the favorite. No, Mom and Dad actually told me I was the favorite. Yeah, no, they actually told me I was the favorite. So, that's why we turn on them a lot. We play a lot of jokes on my parents. It's super fun. We just did it up at the national conference. It was amazing. We have the majority of the staff is loyal to us and not to my parents, which is amazing because they'll come in. But there was a couple new staff members I wasn't aware about. So we're in the Vineyard. It's the national conference, and I know Jason's like, I can't believe you're telling this story. I'm not going to tell it all, but okay. So my parents aren't techie people, okay? They surround themselves with young people that make them look techie. Like, to get a graphic up there would just be impossible for them. So, they don't know iPhones. They're learning it. So we decide to, and you guys know Phil Strout. He's the national director, and his wife, Jan. They're amazing. They love my parents. And so they're at the conference, and so we decide to grab my dad's phone. And I won't incriminate the best techie person in the entire world. He's absolutely a genius. I pray for his wife. She's a dear friend of mine, Anel, but he is genius. So we get my dad's phone. It was my dad's phone. We change the setting of Jan Strout and Phil Strout to a picture of someone else. But we used Charles's number, but we changed it to look like it's Jan Strout. So it says Jan Strout, it pops up our picture. So we sneak the phone back to them. So then we send them a text. And we're all in one house together. And it was kind of like there could be a problem text that they need to talk to them. So my dad, he's just, he's charging down the phone or down the stairs, and he's like, hey, is there any way someone could hack into my phone? And could this be a scam or a spam message? I was like, we're all like, no, that's Jan Strout texting you. He's like, okay. He goes back up and he's thinking of all the things it could be. And so this was going to be one of the best highlight days of our entire life. We had it planned. We spent hours planning this. And I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but there is someone who sold us out currently on the staff here at Cape Vineyard. And I'm not even going to say his name, okay? But pray for his wife, Tess, because I tell you what, He goes and tells my dad, yeah, that's you back there, tells my dad this whole plan. Okay, so he's got like a year of punishment. So he's not in the inner circle. That had nothing to do with it. I just like to tell stories when they're gone. Let me get back on track. Okay, so Joseph. So we're going to pick up with Joseph. They don't like Joseph. The brothers are already upset. He's the favorite. So there's tension going on. And the dad doesn't really help the situation out. So we're going to jump in verse 3. Now Israel, which is his dad Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of the other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. He was special. And he made a richly, now apparently, I've been saying the wrong word the last message, so I've been corrected. So we're just going to call this a really awesome robe, okay? And it was beautiful. It was like showy. We call it bling in y'all's generation. You still use bling? It's not cool anymore? Gosh, I can't even keep up. Okay, whatever. It's awesome. It's an amazing robe. It's super shiny. Verse 4, when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they what? Hated him. They couldn't even speak not one kind word to him. When you're in a place and you can't even muster up one kind word, you are in a dangerous zone of hate. You're polluted. It's spreading like a cancer in your body. Let me just help you out there. It's not a good place to be. So they have this hate just boiling inside of them. Verse 5, Joseph, he has this dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. They tell him this dream. He tells his brothers, he's so excited, okay? The dream was like a vivid prophetic dream. So he's excited, and this is what we call really good intentions but a bad decision. Okay, so he goes and he tells his brothers this dream. I have this dream that we are in the field, and basically you're going to be eventually bowing down to me. I'm going to kind of be ruling over you. Now, I just can't believe, I just call him an idiot. I just think he was kind of stupid. I don't believe he was like viciously trying to turn the screw in to his brothers. Only because of the character I see for the rest of his journey in life. I think it was just good intentions. He was excited. He felt like God gave him this dream. And he's like, man, you got to hear about this. It gets him so mad, so angry, that the hate turns to almost a sense of murder. And this happens a lot in our life, and maybe not on this level. This is a strong level, but sometimes we have really good intentions, but we make bad decisions with our good intentions. I see it all the time. I've done it in my own life. Here's a story for you. I got permission to tell this, okay, from my husband. This was years ago, early on in our marriage. He wasn't like the greatest cleaner because, you guys, we call you surface cleaners. So as long as it looks good, you're good. So deep cleaning, typically, guys don't know how to deep clean. So they just, it's the appearance that's important. And so I was teaching my husband little bits of, how to clean. And so one day I came home. I had a stressful day. Came home, and he was so sweet. He had cleaned the entire bathroom, but I'm talking like deep clean. And I had like a jacuzzi, like big, huge bathtub, and he set it all up, and he's like, I'm going to take the kids, and I'm going to give you some time to just chillax. Is that still a word? No? Kind of. Okay. I'm trying to stay relevant. Give me something. Okay, so I take this gorgeous, just relaxing bath. It's so wonderful. I get out. I'm making sure to keep it all cleaned up. But as I'm getting out, there's a toilet brush laying on one of those bristle toilet brushes. It's laying on the side of the tub, and I was so mad that one of my kids was playing with a dirty toilet brush. And so I'm like, they get back home, and I'm like, who was playing with the toilet brush? They're like, I didn't touch it. And I'm like, somebody touched it. It's laying on the bed. He's like, what do you mean? What toilet brush? And I went in the bathroom. I pulled it out, and he's like, Oh, yeah, you know where it's going. You know where it's going. This is a true story. I can't even make it up. He cleaned my bathtub that I had just soaked in with the year-old, decrepit toilet brush. And I couldn't even be mad because it was like the greatest intentions ever, but a horrible decision. I mean, horrible. I just realized I have human feces all over my body. And I couldn't even clean off enough. It haunted me for weeks. It was so disgusting. I don't think I've taken a bath to this day. I can't. And that was just what the point was. That's a good intentions, bad decision. So that's Joseph right now. Good intentions. He's excited. God's given him this prophetic dream. So his brothers, they are beyond upset. So they go out, they take a trip, they go out to make some money. And we're going to skip a little bit. And we're going to skip to, let's go to verse, if you want to throw it up there, verse 19. So Jacob sends Joseph, not a really wise move. He should feel the tension with the kids, but he sends Joseph to go find his brothers. He sends them on a journey. And of course, what does Joseph, before he goes anywhere, what does he put on? His robe. And this is just like his favorite thing. It represents how amazing he is, how much his parents love him, and he feels special. So he puts his robe on and he goes on this trip. And then he's trying to find his brothers, and he stumbles upon where they're at, and they see him from a distance. And this is where we're going to pick up. Verse 19, they say, "Here comes that dreamer." It's not a good nickname. They're not saying, "Oh, he has, wonderful bedtime dreams." This is a word of like a mocking, a ridicule word. Here comes that dreamer. So I would just ask you today, before we give Joseph a bad rap with his nickname, you have a nickname. You have a nickname. Unfortunately, you probably don't know what it is. Let me help you on something here. I'm going to burst the secret bubble of the Vineyard. If you've ever been called, I'm going there. I'm going to spill a secret. If you've ever been called an EGR, it does not mean that you're an excellent, glorious Republican, okay? If you've been called an EGR, it's a little saying that we made up years ago to get through the process of pastoring some of you. It is what we call extra grace required. There is some of you in this room that when you come walking up to a pastor, we immediately pray that God sends us extra grace to deal with you. I'm just kidding. Nobody in this room. It was the last service, so you're good. You're fine. But everyone has a nickname, They called me bossy when I was a kid. I'd rather look at it like leadership, They always had a great time. I don't think it was a bad thing that I was bossy, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know they called me bossy. They still do sometimes. But I think that, we all have names, and if you don't know your name, lean over to your spouse and ask what your name is. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Unless Charles is still doing counseling. Is he still doing counseling? But we all have a name. So they call him here comes the dreamer. And they're all together. If you find yourself in a room with 2, 3, 4 people, and you're all spewing you're all together, you're all on board, you're all going after one person who's not even there to defend themselves, just stop. I found myself in those situations in my life. I'm not proud of them. I hope I'm improving. I hope I get better at it. But just stop. It's just evil. It's evil. Because what it's doing to you is way worse than it's doing to the other person. So they say, here comes this dreamer. They said to each other, come on, come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. The big brother steps in with good intentions, but still a bad decision. He says, hang on, guys, hang on. Let's not kill him. Let's just put him in this pit. And we'll leave him there, but let's just not kill him. And maybe he had the idea that he was going to come back and maybe save him after the brothers went away. I don't know. I'll give him that. But here's what you need to know about good intentions with a bad decision you have to go 100% with anything. God requires us to go 100% with something. If you're going to tell the truth, you better go 100% with it. I've done so much counseling where, unfortunately, the person will leave out the 10%. They think, well, hey, I gave them 90, and I think that's all that they can handle. It's not up to you. It's not up to you to determine how much they can handle. You go 100%, but you do it with love, you do it with humility, and you do it with compassion. But we are called to go 100%. Don't do half of a good decision. Do 100% of a good decision. Don't confess half of a truth. Go 100% with it. It's a rare day God will ever restore something, a relationship, or when you're not 100%. When we go 100%, what happens is, and I'm going to talk to you men for a second because I've done a lot of counseling with a lot of men, but this is the concept, and you've been taught this. So it's not your fault, but you can't stay a victim. But giving someone half the truth doesn't save them. It doesn't save their feelings because God does something. I've seen it over and over. When you go 100% with the truth on something, God does something in the other, and this could be for a woman too. God does something inside of the woman's spirit. It's an unlocking, it's an unleashing of hope and of love. God does something. When you give 100% truth, God does something to the other person's spirit that you can't explain. I've seen it over and over. So go 100% of the way. So the brother steps in. He gets them to change the plan. So verse 23, so when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped his robe off. They took him, they threw him into the pit. And the pit was empty, and there's no water in it. It was a drought. They call them cisterns. And I make my own words up too, like I did in the last service, and a couple people came up and corrected my word. But I do it on purpose, just to see if you're paying attention. And it's a better word. I like my made-up words. So, but this is like one of those, okay? This is what they threw Joseph down into. This is not like a little trip into a ditch. This is like he's probably got some bones broken. He's got some cut scrapes. He's bleeding. And I can't even imagine what he's feeling like in that pit. I can't even imagine his own family. Nobody can hurt us like our families. There's just something about it. Nobody can hurt us and wound us like our families can. It's probably because we love them so much. The more you love someone, the more power you give them to wound you. But it's never to, well, I'm going to stop giving someone the power to wound me. I'm going to stop loving them. That is never, ever the solution. Being cold-hearted or isolating friendships out of your life because you've been so hurt, it's never the solution. Not trusting ever again because someone's hurt you, because it's all you're headed for is isolation. And it's the enemy's best trap in the entire world is to get you isolated. When you just don't have the urge to take that phone call. When you just don't have the urge to get up and go to somewhere where there's going to be lots of people. It's that pit of depression. I've been in it. I battle with it. It's that pit where nobody even cares. And let me help you on this. Let me help you on this. It's really simple when people are in those places. It's super simple of what Jesus would want you to do. I was in a pit. I had lost my banking job. I made lots of money. It was good money. And the feds came in one day. I climbed the ladder, the corporate ladder. I was vice president. And feds came in, shut us down. I lost everything. Everything. My nice cars, my this, my that, my that. I got stripped down to nothing. And I lost my identity. I didn't purposely try and find my identity in my job, but it just naturally happened. Because we will find our identity in something if it's not in Jesus. I promise you that. It might be your spouse, might be your kids, it might be your job. We'll find our identity in something. So I got into this pit. It was a dark pit. And I tell you what, one of the most simplest but radical for me things is one of my really good friends came over. I wouldn't pick her phone call up, anybody's phone call. She came over. She barged in my house. She looked at me. I was unbathed. Could have been 2 weeks. I don't know. It was pointless at that point. And I just was kind of like in a dark hole. And she came over and she said, "Get up and get your butt in the shower." I was like, okay. Nobody loves me. It's the Eeyore syndrome, you know? We think it's humility. It's just totally not humility. And I come out, and my entire house is clean. And it was a deep clean. It wasn't like a surface clean. It was I got to tell this story. What time is it? This is so funny. So I'm preaching down in Naples, and I tell this story how one day I read this, or I watched a YouTube clip, and one day this lady was like, "Listen, women, you don't even have to really clean your house. Men operate by smell so much that you literally, right before you know they're going to walk in the door, just spray like a Lysol all through the air. Just spray it through the house." I kid you not, I did it. So I got the text, "Oh, hey, hon, I'll be home in a little bit." I turned housewives off, and I got up and I'm kidding. Not really. So I got the spray, and I'm spraying all through the air. He comes in the house. I kid you not. He goes, "Looks amazing in here." I was like, yes. This is amazing. But so I tell this in one of my messages down in Naples, and this is where I get myself in trouble. So this lady goes home, and she tries it at her house, and the husband walks in, and she grabbed some type of chemical. It was like a bleach type, whatever chemical. So he walks in, and he's like, "It smells really good in here." Not 2 minutes later, he has a complete body chemical reaction. He breaks out in hives. His lungs start closing up. They have to take him to the ER. They get to the ER, and she goes, "My pastor made me do it." I just was like, so that it's just, don't try that. Just don't try that, okay? That would be your luck, okay? So back to the pits, all right? Here's a couple reasons you can find yourself in a pit. Number one is, it's just real easy. It's your fault. It's your fault you're in a pit. It's your fault. You can't blame anyone else. You're just making some dumb choices. That's why you're in a pit. The other one is, maybe someone put you there. Listen, when I go in a pit, it's not fun. I drag people with me. I don't like being in pits alone. Misery loves company. So, but maybe someone put you there. Oh, maybe your spouse just did something that just put you right into a pit. Maybe you're raising a teenager. That'll put you right in a pit so fast, you'll think you're never coming out. And, whatever it is, but someone else caused the damage to you to put you into the pit. Or, this is one of the hardest things, is tragedy. Tragedy puts you in a pit in life. And pits don't have to be like years. You know, you can have a pit for a couple weeks. You can have a pit for a couple years. You know, you can be in and out. I've been in and out of pits my whole life. In and out. Because you're going in a pit, you're in a pit, or you're coming out. That's just how it works. So maybe tragedy. This is the hardest pit, especially being a pastor, because there is no good answers. You know, when someone loses a little kid, or when someone's fighting cancer, and, you know, it's like there's no good answers to give them. You can quote them 90 Bible scriptures, but it's just not what they need at the time. So tragedy is a hard thing. This is all I can tell you, and all I can assure you is I have walked, just last year, I feel like she was an angel sent to me. We became kindred spirits immediately down in Naples, jumped right in, got involved in church, was in her 50s, got pancreatic cancer, and it was my first like side-by-side walk all the way down to death. I walked with her, right by her side. And it was such for me, I'll never forget her, because I've seen people walk through tragedies without Jesus, and it's pitiful. No pun intended. It's sad. It's sad. It's a corroding thing. It's a hopeless feeling. But then I watched this woman walk through all the way to her death, and she loved Jesus. And there was just no better. I'm like, gosh, if I'm going to die, if I could die like that, if I could deal with tragedies on that level where I'm so surrendered to Jesus, it still hurts. It's still sad. It's still painful. But there's hope. There's a purpose and a plan. Even when we don't see it, because here's a news flash. God's timing is never, ever, ever, ever your timing. Never. I wish I stopped my feet when I get to heaven. I'm going to sit on a rocker with him. I'm going to say, I got one question for you. Where were you, Jesus? Because your timing was off. I said that so much in my life. Right now, I'm in the season God has me. It's the most bizarre season of he's just telling me to rest, feed his sheep, just love on people, and don't create a strategy and don't create a future. And it's crippling me to try and rest, because guess what? I'm not in control. Guess what? He's the architect. He's the boss. One puzzle piece at a time he's handing me. It's brutal. But always in a pit, there's only one thing you should be concerned about. Not how you got there. Not whose fault it is. Not if it's fair. That's the F-bomb in our house. It was the F-bomb in my parents' house. It's not fair. We would get in so much trouble. It was a horrible word. My kids will tell you, when they say it's not fair, the only thing you're going to hear is, life's not fair. But when you're in those pits, when you're in that pit, you better be asking this one question. What are you wanting to do in me? What are you wanting to do in me? He's wanting to do something in you. So you're either not listening, or it's the timing's off, you just got to rest. But he's wanting to do something in you. Not something in your spouse, not something in your kid, not something in your job. He's wanting to do something in you. Because the whole goal of journeying with Jesus is forming our character to be a little bit more like him every day. If I could be just a little bit, I'm not trying to jump a mile here. I'm not trying to leap. I know I'm not going to be walking on water, although I would love to go on that Israel trip, but I'm a pastor. You know we don't get paid much. So if you want to sponsor me $5,000, I'll go on the Israel trip for you. Just putting it out there. Just kidding. Not really. So what was I saying before that? What? Yes. He's trying to do something in you. So when I wake up, my mission is this. That's it. I want to be a little bit more like Jesus today. Just a little bit. Don't ask. Give me, I told this in the last sermon, give me your eyes, Jesus. I want to see people the way you do. I was in VLI. I was feeling very spiritual. I knew I was learning all about the Bible. So I just, I was just really smart. And so I was like on that, just Jesus, give me your eyes. And I heard him say, you can't handle that. And I'm like, oh, come on, bring it. I can handle anything. I'm like did y'all see Nico's fight last night? That was freaking amazing. I shouldn't be talking about UCF or is it UCF? No. UFC. Sorry. Anyways, this is a great fight. I stayed up way too late to watch it. That's why I'm all over the place. But it was a great fight. So I was going somewhere. I had a story. What is it? Yo, see people. Okay, thank you. That's why my dad keeps you around, Jason. You know it. You know it. So I'm at the cross. I'm on the prayer team. At this cross right here, I'm on the prayer team. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm asking him again. I'm like, I just want to see people through, like, the way you see them. And he's like, I just hear him say, okay. This woman comes walking up to me. And I'm literally, all of a sudden, I see the pain of her entire life. I see it from her head to her toes. I get so overwhelmed. I'm literally I'm like shaking. I start hysterically crying. Y'all know I don't like to cry. I have an ugly cry face, and I don't like it, but God always makes me cry, and I'm weeping, and she comes up, and she's like, now she's scared. She's like, what the? I'm like, what can I pray for you about? Because I see like 1,000 things. And I was so overwhelmed. And I put my hand on her. And she's just like, I'm like, just close your eyes. Only because I didn't want her to stare at me. At this point, the snot line's dripping down my nose. It was horrible. I couldn't say a word. I weeped over her. I weeped over her for like 5 minutes. It was just, I couldn't even get a word out. But you know what? She hugged me. She said that was the best prayer she's ever had. I said afterwards, Jesus, I don't want to see anybody else like the way you see them. But every once in a while, I'll say it again. Give me a small dose. You know? I have an 18-year-old. It was rough. And I'd say, always, let me see her through your eyes, Jesus, but just in a small dose. And it would get me through, because you have no clue. I just being a pastor, just the pain that people even in this room are carrying, the turmoil, the bitterness, the unforgiveness. You know, we're all, it's like it is cancerous to us. This hate, these sons go on for years and years. There's no way their life was any type of healthy. There's no way. In fact, we're going to skip through a lot of family drama, and we're going to end at chapter 39. And this is Joseph. So he gets sold out of the pit. He gets sold as a slave, less than what a camel would cost. They sell their brother. He ends up with this dude Potiphar, who's like the general to the Pharaoh's army. Like he would be like the guy who decides whether they'll launch a missile or not. Like he was super important. He ends up as his slave, Joseph. And Potiphar falls just in love with him. There was something special. He trusted him. He brought him in. He was in awe about Joseph. He didn't even know why. He puts Joseph in charge of his entire house. He puts Joseph in charge of everything. And there's no way that Joseph could have gotten to this much favor, into this area of his life, of the fruit of his life, without leaving in that pit. He had to leave in that pit. He had to leave all of it. The bitterness, the unforgiveness, the vengeance, and the victim mentality. He had to leave it in the pit. And I know he left it in the pit because God can't bring you to your purpose, and he can't bring you to his plans until you leave it there. So some of you, you've been in the same pit because he's trying to do something in you. So pay attention what it is. It's going to hurt. It's going to be simple, but it's going to be hard. And so this is where Joseph lands up. Verse 1, now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, Potiphar's house. Okay, verse 2. This is how I know Joseph left it all behind. This is how I know that when I'm in my pit, there is purpose. He will not waste my pain, and there is plans for my life. Because this verse right here, the Lord, let's say it together, was with Joseph. Now let's do this. Let's say this, but put your name at the end. Let's say it out loud. The Lord was with Kristy. This is your assurance. This is your rock. This is what you stand on. I've tried it myself to get out of pits without Jesus. And now I've tried getting out of pits with Jesus. And I will never go back. I will never go back. I'm not going back to pig slop because I've tasted and seen. And he is amazing. Jesus has to be your rock. He has to be your firm foundation. And with him, pits will not take you down. He will turn a hopeless situation into hope. And he goes, anytime God repeats something, it's like super important. It's like when you say your kid's name, it's like Kiara. You pay attention. So the Lord was with Joseph and he prospered. He lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did. Success never tastes the same without Jesus. It's false success. It's what the world views as success. Success in the kingdom is all about your heart and nothing about your wallet. Verse 3, when his master saw that the Lord was with him, he says it the second time. He goes on, and later on he gets into another pit. But once again, he knows that he does it with Jesus. So you're walking in a pit. When you get there, I hope it's with Jesus. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you haven't started that journey. Maybe that's you've heard about Jesus. You've been coming to church for a little bit, and you know it's kind of interesting. You still have 1,000 questions. Trust me, I've been doing this for so many years, and I have 1,000 more questions than when I started. But I have a God I can't figure out. I have a God I can't explain. There's not much in this world, especially you millennials. You think you know it all. You got a God. That was for Malik over there. I'm 2 years from the millennial gap. That's why I'm a millennial hater. So apparently I'm not a millennial because I'm too old. But here's the deal. You don't know it all. You're not ever going to. But there's a God who does. And there's a God who already wrote the book and already sealed the deal for our ending. So get right or get left. Just kidding. But I'm crashing. I need food. No, on a real note, though, I can speak from hurt. I can speak from my own bad decisions. I can speak from putting myself in pits. Jesus is the only way out. I wouldn't choose any other way. If I found a different way that worked, I would tell you. But he's been the rock in my life. He's been the savior. When I finally stop being the boss of my life, when I finally stop ruling and reigning my life, perspective comes. I see purpose. I see hope. Life has meaning. There's meaning. You're sitting in this room because there is meaning. God has work for you to do. And it's a fun adventure. Joseph had an amazing life. Go home and read it with your kids, or go home and read it. It's great. You could do a whole series on him. But he always was with Jesus. Let's pray. Lord, I just thank you for today. Thank you for giving me the grace, Lord, to try my best to share about you. Lord, that you choose to use us flawed and weak humans to pass on one of the most powerful messages of your grace. You're the only one that went to a pit of the cross because you chose it. You knew there was no other way for us besides forgiveness, besides your grace. And so I just thank you for making the ultimate sacrifice and defeating death with your resurrection, Lord. I just thank you, Jesus, for everything you've done in my life and for never leaving when I've let you down and never losing hope when I've lost hope in my own self. So, Lord, I pray that if someone needs a touch from you today, reassure them they are not in their pit alone. You are with them. You have plans. And whatever he's trying to do, just say, Lord, have your way. Speak, your servant's listening. Lord, what do I need to do to be more like you so I can get out of this pit? And maybe you've never done that. Maybe you don't have a relationship with Jesus. Just, if you want to take the next step, just pray this prayer with me. Say, Jesus, I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of questions. But I know one thing. I'm tired of doing it my way. And I need you. See, sometimes he just lets us get into the pits because he wants us to be desperate for him. Because in our desperation, we give up on us trying to be in control. And we give him back the reins. So just say, Jesus, come into my heart right now. Wash me, forgive me of my sins, from my sins of the past and my sins in the future. It's not a one-stop shop. You're going to mess up again. That's why we have his grace. We can go back to the cross. Thank you for your presence, Lord. Thank you for this church. It's just an amazing feeling of the presence of God in this place. Amen. So they do this every week. I love it. I don't think we'll ever stop doing it, but it says in the word, it says, if you confess me before men, if you confess Jesus before men, he's faithful. He will confess you before the Father in heaven. You will seal the deal. You don't have to worry in your brain. You don't have to, when the enemy haunts you with thoughts, you can stand on the rock of Jesus and say, nope, I'm his kid. Whether you're 5 or 90, I'm his kid. And you know where you stand. So if that's you and you want to make a stand, we're here to celebrate with you. Just stand where you're at. Say, it's simple, but it's going to be hard. But there's no better way to do it. So just stand where you're at. Say, I say yes to Jesus as my Lord. And you surrender. It's a surrender. I remember the feeling when I remember that feeling when I just stood through my fear. I just surrendered. It seems like, oh, what's the big deal? It's a major deal. So if that's you, just stand right where you're at. Just say, I say yes to Jesus as my Lord. It can be really scary. Typically, your heart's pumping pretty fast. That's just God giving you an urge. You can take it or not. Because we'll be saying the same thing next week when you come back. Okay? Okay, so this is what I want to do. I want to do this one last song, this rival song. This song is good. This is your first time hearing it. It's an amazing song. But I want to sing it together because there's no competition for Jesus. There is none. He's defeated it. So I want to celebrate. I want to sing this together, cry it out, and let's worship together. And then we're going to have a baptism going on, and we'll baptize people right now. This has been amazing. I've been hearing about all the awesomeness, people not even prepared, just coming up, getting baptized, getting their spiritual tattoo, their believer's baptism. It's saying, I've already surrendered my life to Jesus. It's your next step. And maybe you've been following the Lord for several years, but you've never had believer's baptism. You're always going to wonder, should I? Yes, let me answer that. Come up, let us baptize you. It's an amazing, amazing experience like no other. So we're going to be, Pastor Jason and I will be over here. I want to baptize someone today. Come on. It's better to go home wet and clean than dry and dirty. It's radical, but you got to do radical things when you're following Jesus. And you'll love it after you do it. You'll love it. So let's sing together, and if you want to get baptized, you guys go ahead and stand. We'll be up here waiting for you.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. Oh, my Jesus. No sweeter name than Jesus. There's power in the name of Jesus. Death could not hold you. The veil torn before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. Lift it up. You have no rival. You have no equal. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus.
Yes, Lord. Thank you that there's power in your name. Father, power to lift us out of the pit. Lord, power to give us a future in you. Lord, let us walk in that grace this week. Lord, carried by you. Father, I pray your blessing on everybody that's here this morning. Lord, let your hand be on them as they go. Father, give them grace in the times they're in the pit. Lord, let us see you with us. It's in your name we pray, Father. Amen. A few things going on as we wrap up. Our prayer team's up here at the cross. If you like some prayer for something you're going through, Pastor Kristy will still be up here at the tank. If you'd like to get baptized, this is one of your first times here at the Vineyard, I'd love to meet you. I've got a gift to say thanks for visiting the Vineyard. And ladies, we have a women's retreat table in the back. Make sure you stop by there and get signed up. Have a great week.